Welcome everybody to AME's 2-second lean tour. Today is Wednesday, the 10th of July, and we've got an absolutely wonderful show for you today. We've been all around the world so far in 2024. We're actually going to go to Valley View Industries today, which is a really short hop from Toronto, which is our home base, to Kamloops in British Columbia, Kamloops. So I'm going to pass you over to our host for the day, which is Paul. Paul, you want to say a few words before we get into the
absolutely. Tour? Well, again, Nick is an extraordinary leader, and I'm going to start off with the idea of leader, because what 2-second lean is about, what lean is all about, is leadership excellence. I end my book with this concept. This is what it's all about. And Nick has demonstrated that at the highest level. Get ready for a very cool tour and a great transformation. Nick, it's all yours.
Thank you for the introduction, and thank you, Paul and Richard, for allowing me to host one of these tours. We started doing our lean transformation about 1 year and 6 months ago, and to go from where we were to where we are now, it's really kind of crazy that we get to host one of these. So in this tour, I'm going to show you how we were and how things are now, and the results are just absolutely staggering. So really excited to show everyone around. Before I get started here, I just really do want to thank the whole 2-second lean community. You guys are absolutely outrageously amazing. Wouldn't be here if it wasn't for everyone, and for people like Paul and Tom Hughes for putting out those books, and the 2-second lean play app. It's amazing that these resources are free and that we all learn together. Here's a little bit about our company. I love the smell of cedar. Pergolas, fences, gazebos. Valley View Industries is the place you can find premium Western red cedar, processed right here. Our family's been in the cedar business for over 30 years, and I wouldn't have it any other way. We know how to craft the best lumber, pergola, and gazebo kits, with lumber available by the board or the truckload for fencing, structures, or anything you can think of, delivered anywhere in BC. Get the best cedar in the Thompson Okanagan from Valley View Industries. My dad Norman started the business over 30 years ago, and in 2009 I started working for the company. And in 2017 I ended up purchasing the company from him. And at the time the business was a lot smaller than it is now. We had about 7 seasonal employees. We didn't even operate year round. And everything that the whole way the business operated went from running in my dad's head, and I was basically groomed to have it all in my head. And there was no systems in place whatsoever in 2017. So from 2017 to 2022, while I owned the business, I made huge changes, and along with huge changes and growing came a lot of struggle and a lot of problems. And I didn't know how to deal, I didn't know how to deal with these problems. I didn't have a good plan for these problems. So every winter I take a week off and I come up with a really good plan on how to improve the business. So I did that. So I was going through YouTube and stumbled across a tour of FastCap with Paul, and I was just blown away. I was just like, okay, what is this? I got to do this. I'm inspired. How can I make my business like this? Even though they're doing something else, this seems simple. So I read 2-second lean, and I was like, okay, we're doing this. We're going to start in the bathroom. So that winter break, I went full bore into our bathroom. So let's get this tour really started. Let's go up and take a look at our bathroom. So right now we're in the main shop. And this whole tour is not going to be filmed with a selfie, but sections of it are, just because it's usually a very loud environment. So we're going to have lots of cameos from our employees, but let's go take a look in our bathroom. So we have a few bathrooms, but one in the main shop here. So let's go on in here. We have a motion sensor for the light to turn on. Yep, we do. And so we have 18 guys that work in here. And I swear I didn't come in here before this, but the place looks beautiful. Just flipping the camera around there. Yeah, no water spots on the mirror. Oh, let's see. Awesome. Beautiful. So we started in here, and we started with a really simple standard of work on how to clean the bathroom. And we have, of course, someone assigned to clean the bathroom. So as the owner of the company, I was the first one to clean the bathroom using the standard of work that I created. So I really set the expectation of how we want the bathroom to be and how we want our whole facility to be. So the bathroom is a great place to start. It's a small space that everyone uses. So we also made really simple, I didn't even have a label maker at the time. I actually just used sticky notes in here to get started. And you can start really small with sticky notes. So restock toilet paper from the cupboard. And it's like, okay, well, where's the cupboard? And everything is labeled and dialed in. Everything has Kanban cards. We introduced our first Kanban cards here, and everything has a place and a process. So from the bathroom, we took it out to the rest of the facility. And in all honesty, it probably took 2 months for the bathroom to really function at a high level. It was not easy. It was a bit of a grind. And we also started with our morning meeting. When we started with our morning meeting, maybe we spent 2 to 5 minutes a morning with all staff, but we never stopped and we never gave up. So here's what our morning meetings are looking like now. Our morning meetings start at 7 a.m. sharp. Before, we had an issue with employees even arriving late. But now that we have such a sharp start time, everyone would see someone arrive late. So it really doesn't happen at all. We have built such a good culture from it. So 5 minutes before the morning meeting starts, we play a 5-minute pump up video. So the video we're playing here is actually a video of me paragliding with some really upbeat music. This allows staff to settle in, and something we've started doing recently is providing coffee and apples for all staff, as well as some granola bars and freezies. So no one has to stop at Tim Hortons and waste money getting a coffee on the way to work. They can just come straight to work, get a good coffee, and then ease into their day. It's very important when you do the morning meetings to be very positive, even if things aren't great that day. Just stay positive because it affects the production and the whole morale of all employees. So here we go, our morning meeting's now starting. I'm running the meeting today, even though we all run the morning meeting, which is great. I can now go on vacation. It's a thing of beauty. We don't stop improving when I'm gone. So our first slide is who's off that day, and then we go over who's off the next day, and then we keep safety on top of mind. We go over any close calls or safety concerns we want to talk about, or just any general safety concepts in general. After talking about safety, we get into our morning stretching. So we either do the radio tasso from Japan, or we do Jack's stretching, which I think is originally from FastCap, and that is a good YouTube video. It's about 1 minute long. The one we're doing here is about 3 minutes and 30 seconds long. We then go into what we're grateful for the day. So if there's kind of ever newer employees or ones that aren't quite getting it, I try to engage with them with the gratefuls before the 8 wastes, just because they're a lot easier and more basic. And then employees that really understand the 8 wastes well, I'll engage with them a bit more so the new employees can learn better. And then I'll slowly start engaging those new employees. But the key is to get engagement from everybody every day. We then go through the 8 wastes, and we've actually decided on 9 wastes, with communication being the one we like to start with when we tell a story. And we don't even put the actual wastes up on our board anymore, even though they're posted on the wall behind everybody. On the TV screen, we don't even have them posted because we know them so well. So one of the stories we like to tell is that we've communicated poorly, and that leads to overproducing a product. So right now, let's talk about overproducing lumber, because that's what we make a lot of. So we've made too many boards. We then need to transport those boards with the forklift into inventory. The inventory is taking up space, and it ends up getting defects. And to resolve those defects, we need to overprocess those boards. And while we're overprocessing, we're wasting motion by sanding them, and even going and getting the sander, walking to get the sander is wasted motion. And while we've been doing that, internal and external customers have been waiting, because we go from log to finished product. There's so many, all of our internal employees are often waiting for others. So it's so important we work as a team. And we could have been doing something else. We could have been making an improvement. Once you can see waste, it's really easy to eliminate it. We're now going over improvement opportunities from the day before, just anything we can actually improve on that we either acted on or didn't act on from the day before. And I try to engage as many people during this, but everyone's so awesome. They're all talking there about things that they could do better from the day before. And improvement opportunities are different than our defect slide that we'll go over a little later in the meeting. We then go over who's cleaning the bathroom for that week, and we do that every single day, and we just review making sure that the bathroom was absolutely perfect from the day before, and if anyone had any issues. We often have customers actually are the only ones who really make our bathroom a mess now. We then go over any missing tools. Quite often now we don't have any missing tools, so we usually buzz through that slide pretty quickly. But if there's anything not put back, we know right away. So not even a 10 millimeter wrench missing. From the day before here, there's some employees that requested some new tools. So we're just handing those out and a few things for improvements. I was lucky enough to go on a Japan study mission, and there's two key things I brought back to implement in our morning meetings. And this was going over defects and potential defects, or a change point. So here we're talking about defects, but our slide doesn't say defects. It says is there anything not right? And it also says smile when you have a problem. So there's a picture of me up there smiling. It's fun, it's bright, it's inviting to talk about our problems. Earlier on in our lean journey, we didn't really talk about real problems. We talked about, where can I put this tool in a better spot? And that's all fine and good. But after maybe 6 months, like our place started getting very clean, very organized. And then we were able to dive deeper into real issues. And even back then, I was thinking about these big problems and how I can resolve them. I need to do a big Kaizen event. And really, you don't. You just need to make small, continuous changes every day. So here we are in our morning meeting spot, and we're not perfect. We've had 125 production days this year, and we've had 7 defects get out to the customer. Some very small, some bigger, but there's been defects. And actually today we had a defect go up on this board. So that defect we sent out to the customer were fence panels built to the wrong size. The customer actually provided us with the correct measurements, and we wrote them down wrong on our internal order sheets. So we sent 7 fence panels, big fence panels that didn't fit in. So the customer was struggling for hours, carrying these into the backyard, trying to make them fit, cutting them down. And then he called us and said, this just isn't right. So the next day we rebuilt all the panels, delivered them, and ensured that they fit on his site. The next day he came in and he was really happy how quickly we dealt with the situation, but he still said he wasted hours of his time. So without any thought, I took out my wallet and I handed him $200 for the few hours he spent struggling. And he was just blown away. He's just like, you're dealing with this so nonchalantly and so professionally. He just hasn't seen it anywhere else. And in return, because of this defect, we've changed the way that we process our orders now. We now send the measurements to the customer to verify before we build. So hopefully, now that we've identified and talked about this defect, we never go back to the original problem. We also go over our days without time loss incident. So we're up over 600 there. And then, so Hankaten is just Japanese for change point. So we go over if there's any change points involving a person. So if anyone's off that day, or if there's a new employee, that would be a change point involving a person. And then we go over change points involving a method. So you can see here today, we have a change point with staining. So we have a new employee doing staining, older employee, but new to us doing staining. And we have a new method. We've installed an overhead system for our fence panels. So the method's changed and the equipment's changed because of that. That's part of the equipment as well. And we're also staining different materials than we were before. So with that, our implementation plan is standards and specific standards to different stain jobs. I realized that there was even more in my head than I realized. And in some of our standards we're creating, we need to go into more detail. We also have a new method happening. The other day we asked if there's anything for our production discussion in our morning meeting that we can improve on, and the employees had a bunch of good ideas. So now we're making some production visuals to include in our morning meetings. So we're gonna lay out and try some new boards. Usually a few times per week in our morning meeting, we also play a video from another company, as well as videos of either a montage or a daily improvement montage from our company. And we post a lot of these on our public YouTube channel as well. As long as there's not any secret information, we definitely post it on there. And our meetings typically last for 15 minutes. Sometimes when we have different leaders, they run for less time, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, which just allows us more time for our 3S. 3S is sweep, sort, and standardize. So sweeping is cleaning, but it's cleaning to inspect. At first, it was just sweeping the floor. And then we were really looking for problems and things we can improve. Sorting is removing what's not needed. A great example of that is in our stain area here. We had all sorts of junk here. So what a transformation. So just small 15 minutes occasionally were spent in this area. So everything that's not needed is now gone. All of our common stains are Kanban, easy to grab, clear standards of work, clear order flow, standardized locations for the tools, and even really good processes. We've recently installed this overhead kind of manual crane that the guys came up with, and it makes the process of staining our fence panels a lot safer and easier. Fix what bugs you. During our 3S, I make sure I help support the employees by teaching and training them and coming up with solutions. And we've done a lot of small things, but the small things have actually added up to some major improvements like this. So a year and 6 months later, and we've expanded our carpentry shop. This was just a roof before with some random storage underneath it. Now we have standardized locations for customer pickup orders. We did build fence panels under here, but we've been able to expand to a new area there behind our office. How long have you worked here, Brian?
24 years.
You've worked here for 24 years, longer than I have. Yeah, that's amazing.
But no, I used to do it in batch runs, and I was finding that I wouldn't notice any mistakes along the way.
Yeah. So what do you mean by how we used to do it in a batch? Like, how would you actually do that? So if you're building 50 fence panels with all different measurements, how would you kind of do that?
I'd cut all my face plates, all my sides, and all my tops to the exact measurements that I needed. I'd have it stacked on a pile, and then I'd start building. And now, with us doing the lean manufacturing and one-piece flow, I ran into a problem like that this morning, where if I would have went through the back, I went through the whole order, and I would have been 2 inches too long on the panels, and I would have had to go back and reprocess it.
Yeah, so you would have had to reprocess, like you're probably like 4 hours of work.
Easily.
Yeah, and how often would that happen, that there'd be like maybe a customer changes their mind, or an order changes, or maybe there's a mistake caught somewhere in that big batch of material we had? Did that happen quite a bit before?
Before it used to happen, it was quite common.
Quite common, yeah.
Quite common. Now it's rare.
Yeah, so now you're only making one fence panel at a time, checking them, and if there's any issue, it's only with one, and you can fix it immediately.
Only with one, it's fixed, it's done. I can carry on. I don't have to go and adjust any other panels.
Yeah, and so you're able to work in like a way smaller area here as well, right?
Yeah.
Very cool, Brian. And back here, we just didn't have a good layout. So now we have incoming and outgoing inventory for semi-loads of lumber, staged wood for our dry kiln up here, and then we have a dedicated spot to park our trailer, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but we didn't have that before, so it has saved us a ton of time just having that parking spot. Yeah, because you were questioning working here before when you first started, right?
Oh yeah.
So why was that?
Well, because usually I worked with machines and woodworking shops. We didn't have to deal with that. It was literally mountains of shaving.
Me coming in and saying we got to get the job done and we got to ship it out today.
And I got an hour with the shoveling to do.
Yep.
And it's blowing all over the yard, and the neighbors are whining about it. And so we've worked our way up to this system here, where it all just goes into the bin and it gets hauled away.
So you're not wasting your time shoveling sawdust anymore, are you?
No,
nope.
Not at all.
Awesome. So I'll show you guys around our carpentry shop. So here we have jigs for our gazebos, and we have templates for our pergola scrolls, all standardized and shadow lined. So number five, total standardization. And everything in this carpentry shop is on a French cleat system. So we're really flexible to move any of these kind of work cells around because we work on a lot of different projects. And for a carpentry shop, you'll notice that we have a really small amount of extra wood. We used to just absolutely be tripping over wood in here. So here we have our sanding and glue cart. So we have all the glues we need, the different grits of sandpaper we use, standards of work on how to sand. Wherever you ask the question, the answer is Kanban cards for our restock for sandpaper, so we never run out. Router cart, Kanban cards for all of our, this was our old system for router bits, still has some random ones in it. And this is what we're doing now. Clamps, big to small. I also just want to note, I haven't cleaned up in here for this video whatsoever. This is just how the guys leave it. I do think it's a little dusty right now, but we went from producing a gazebo about every 7 to 10 days to every 2 days. So a lot of work goes through here. We've also been able to put in a CNC, which has definitely helped with production and making parts that we need. Up there is our order board or Kambichi board for managing the carpentry orders. So we limit to 4 orders in a work in progress at one time. Before in the past, I'd sometimes have 10 or more orders in process. And here we just have our upcoming job hardware bin. So what's it like to work in this shop?
Hi, I'm Liu. I have come here and have been here for 8 years from Japan. 私がここが大好きなのは、こういうジグ類とかが日本と一緒なんですよね。で、ニックが本当に日本を愛してるから、私もめちゃくちゃニックのことを尊敬してるし、本当に楽しい時間を今ここで過ごしています。やっぱり、こうショップが綺麗に保たれているっていうことも、やっぱりカナダでは経験しなかったことだし、そうですね。本当に私のスキルが100% 活かせる職場だと思ってます。私はここが大好きです。Thank you.
Thank you. So we have logs enter in this side of the facility. They get processed in the middle here and then go into color coordinated bays, which correspond with our grading colors. So before they're even loaded up, they're graded per order. They go onto our log deck and get processed from logs into lumber on our sawmill. All of the waste goes off of the end and gets chipped and sold to the pulp mill. We like to think about sawmilling as a team sport. So we have an operator in this booth running the main saw, and then we have workers pulling off lumber into multiple saw lines. So we have a resaw to take thicker boards into thinner boards. And then we have our edger, which has 2 saw blades inside that cut the edges off to make the board square. And we even have an overhead laser line so the guys can line up the boards perfectly. All the boards then flow down to Steve. So I'm rolling now. So trim a board how you used to do it.
Okay, so that's how I used to have to trim my boards. Come over here. Get it to the right length, trim it, grab my bingo dabber to mark it, and then mark it on my sheet here, and then bring it all the way over here, and Just push through. Push. Mark. And on.
Awesome.
Saving about 20 steps per board.
20 steps per board. And how many boards do you cut a day?
I average about 100 to 150 boards a day.
Yeah, so that's yeah, thousands of steps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
So, a lot easier.
Yeah, so did I tell you to do that improvement?
No, it was just, I was trying to figure out how to reduce my steps, and it's like, well, I keep having to go back and forth there, so.
Yeah, out to the foot pedal, yeah.
Yeah. And so we figured out, can we get another pedal or some sort of extra trigger, and found this button works really well because I don't have to worry about stepping on it.
Yeah,
It's right where my hand is grabbing the board.
So cool. Awesome job, Steve. So this is the sawmill C-can before we started lean, and there was not a spot for anything, and it was a mess. You can see there's saw blades all over the place, a chainsaw in the middle of the floor, and this is the end of the day right now, and I haven't cleaned up in here. The guys are just doing a phenomenal job. So 2-bin system for the consumable sawmill inventory for maintenance, all with Kanbans, with Andon right beside it. Kambichi by board for the maintenance. So we've created our own maintenance log. We're getting it out of the manual up on this board so we can do, let's say for the chipper, check oil daily. There's the QR code on how to do it and if it's been completed or not. And then our chainsaws, wherever you ask the question, the answer should be. So before we just had chainsaws laying in the middle of the floor. And now, so if I need a chain for this chainsaw, well, right there, there's the 24-inch chain, and there's a Kanban to reorder and sharpen chains for each of the saws. But what's even better is when you need to use a chainsaw, you also need to wear a face shield, chainsaw chaps, and then you also need a log tape and paint, all right there. And even a crumb trail restocked from Stain Area where we have more inventory. The guys have just dialed it in back here. It's just really impressive. They first said that they did a 3S for half an hour or 3 hours and they said there's nothing else we could possibly do. And now there's just endless improvements in here.
What else has changed?
Yeah.
Before, we had a gas motor that we'd have to turn on and off because you wouldn't want to sit idling. Now we're electric, so it can stay on all day. And we went from batch processing to one-piece flow, which has improved our wood production. There's more wood going out to the door instead of just having random piles of stuff everywhere. One huge. Also, we have all these roll cases now, and it's set up so it flows. I'm a huge fan of the fix what bugs you. There's lots of things that once you start realizing that and actually know that you have the time to fix what bugs you, because it can be little simple things like on the tidy tank, one of the clips has a really pointy end, so I flattened it so it stopped stabbing you when you went to go use it.
Yeah, and you have this 15 minutes, and I think you can find an improvement very easily. Is that true?
Oh yes, and the biggest thing was the hurdle was coming out, because cleaning's easy. Everyone gets the cleaning, everyone gets the sorting. What I've realized now that a lot of times I'm spending my 3S nowadays doing is standardizing everything. Everything should have a standard, and once you realize that everything needs a standard, then there's just so much more. Whether it be tools having a standard location, whether it be standard operations for various different things on our board that we have for end sealing all timbers and all this stuff, to having a standard location for even just sharpened all bands and blades and stuff.
Yeah, it's so awesome. So we have the same size yard as we did before, and we have like a ton more space now. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, we had like, if you show pictures of like the old yard versus the new yard, and it's just like, I bet you it's a third of what we had.
Yeah, about that, yeah.
We had before. It is kind of hard when you're set in the old school ways of thinking to do lean, but it is worth it in the end, because once you get the concepts and it starts to actually make sense to you, then things become infinitely easier to improve.
And how did that really happen?
Just through seeing other people, even watching the videos that you show in the meeting from other companies, and it helps you, and it's just seeing what other people are doing, and then you could then adapt it to your own work environment.
I'm the production manager here at Valley View. I've worked here for 3 years.
Awesome. So tell me about the contrast from the last year and a half to now.
It's a night and day contrast. I've seen some fairly significant changes over the past year and a half. Before we started the whole lean culture, a year and a half ago, we would have employees that they didn't even want to change, real stick in the mud. Can't fault them for that. But they would view the improvement as waste. Like if they were struggling to get a job done but persevering through it, they would just view that as hard work. And to take an extra 10 minutes to make it easier for themselves, they view that as waste. And now, a year and a half later, it's the exact opposite. People won't even really start a job before they even start thinking about, well, what are the wastes and how can I minimize it? It's been a total sea change.
So yeah, everyone's thinking differently.
Yeah, everyone's thinking differently for sure. Another really important one that's come up recently, we're getting into this about a year and a half now, and I gotta say credit to Tom Hughes for Gemba Docs. It's a great app. I just gotta plug that a little bit.
Sure, yeah, no problem.
Honestly, it's become one of my favorites because it lets anybody make like a really professional looking document for use in the workplace very simply. And one problem I've encountered in my job here is that I forget how much just I know. And it's not just me, it's anybody, it's Nick, it's any employee working out on the floor. They'll all forget how much just they know. So that someone else will go to do a task and they'll have no idea what the answer is or how to do it properly, and will fumble about and waste too much time. And now what we're seeing because of Gemba Docs is employees are actually excited to share what they know and to teach it. And I've seen employees, they'll talk about how excited they are to use that 3S time in the morning to put together a whole instruction booklet of different maintenance procedures on pieces of equipment that are second nature to them. They know it, every step is memorized, they can change out different blades or bits or whatever else.
And before they were really reluctant to share that with anyone.
That's right. Before, they held all that knowledge and all that power, didn't want to share it with anybody, they didn't want to take the time to do it. And they wouldn't really internalize the problem of, well, how do we share this information, right? It would just become another file on a manager's desk of problems to manage. Now they're internalizing that problem, coming up with a solution, implementing it, and putting it into production in the workplace without even involving any management.
So would you say your management, so do they come to you as much anymore? You have time for some more important things probably?
I definitely have more time to get on to the bigger things, for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks.
What do we do with all of our before and after videos?
Yeah, we post them every day.
Yeah.
And, it was, in the morning meeting, like the pictures of the old and the pictures of the new, it was just a huge difference.
Yeah, and did that make you feel good?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so from there, I think that was a bit of a turning point, right? Because after that, you just kept doing more and more, and it's almost like a dopamine rush, right? It's like, I see you every morning, even after the 3S, like improving or cleaning or.
Well, we do have the standard of holding a rope tight. So if you see something on the ground, you pick it up and you clean it up. You leave it better than you found it. And honestly, like you said a while back, the standard we walk by is the standard we accept.
Awesome.
So if we walk.
So Luke, tell me a bit about how this place used to look.
Well, this is kind of what this bench here used to look like. We hit the reset button on the entire metal shop, and it's kind of my favorite lean place that I've been a part of creating. And we have a lot of great systems in place now. This awesome 4x4 brackets and 6x6 brackets, 2-bin system right here with procedures on how to trigger the bracket order process.
So if you got that card, what do you do with that?
Well, let's look right here. There's a process. It tells me, oh, okay, there's an order slot right here that I can put it in. So now when I walk by, I know that there's brackets that need to be made, and then once I start building the brackets, I turn it to green. Yes. And when Nick's walking by, he can know exactly what I'm working on in the metal shop.
Yeah, because usually we'll have this welding curtain closed. So the other day I was actually walking by and I go, oh, Luke's in there, and we have 6x6 brackets in process.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So Another one of my favorite spots is the actual bench where the brackets get made. Over here, we have a full Kanban system on all the different bracket pieces with our set inventory levels. Everything's right here. Everything's labeled.
So before, this was just a disaster, dark corner that would collect stuff.
Oh yeah, it was brutal. This bench used to be twice the length. I actually cut it in half and just put what we need on it, because the other half of the bench would just get collected with all kinds of random metal cutoffs and all kinds of pieces, and there's just so much waste happening here.
Crazy, yeah. So dialed in.
Yeah. And up here we've got only the necessary tools for welding brackets, a standard of what the area should look like, a quick standard on the key points of welding a bracket, and the key points of cleaning up a bracket after welding.
Awesome. And so you even dialed in our welding gas. So there's a standard location for the welding tanks. And you have this really cool thing you made here that says if the tank's full or if it's empty with the Kanban on. So we never run out of gas during a job.
Yeah, and that's the same with the welding wire too, because we used to only ever have one box of welding wire at a time. But now that we have it Kanban, we never ever run out.
Yeah, that's the worst. Oh, we got to finish this project. Oh, Nick, I'm out of welding wire. Go to the store.
Waiting. So this is our lean cave here, and this is a really simple improvement, but one of my favorites. We had a door here before, so pretty much everything in behind here was in this dark cubby that you never really looked at, and we weren't really utilizing the space nearly as much. So I decided just to take the door right off, and it's made a huge difference, and we're using this corner way more now.
So what would you say lean is then?
The art of subtraction and keeping it simple.
Yep.
It's the small stuff.
It's the small stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So cool. Awesome job, Luke. Hey everyone, thanks so much for following along and watching our tour video. So I just want to summarize the video there. We started really small with our morning meeting, but very consistently. We did it every single day. We did not miss. Same with our 3S time. So the commitment really started with myself. It was quite a bit of money and time not actually producing products, but we stuck with it and we started to see results. And even though we were doing small things, you can see how the small things add up over a year and a half. And the other thing about starting with myself is a lot of these concepts I didn't practice. I never used to leave things better than I found it. And when I started doing that and making before and after videos where I was leaving things better than I found it, my people started leaving things better than they found it. And then as we developed, we learned all the different lean concepts. And now basically whenever I have a problem or my people have a problem, they can just like have this lean concept in their head and they know how to deal with the situation just based off of a simple concept. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. Let's get into that Q&A.
Wow. Unbelievable, Nick. You know, Nick, what about your dad, real quick? My first question is, what about your dad? What does he think of what's happened here?
Yeah, so my dad actually moved away about 3 years ago, so he hasn't seen it in person, how it looks, but I sent him a few videos, and at first he was really confused why. He's like, why are you wasting time doing morning meetings and not actually working? He just did not understand at all. And now I've sent him some of our recent YouTube videos, and he's just like, oh my God, that is incredible. I'm so proud of you. Now that he sees the result of it, what has happened because of developing people. So.
Wow, what a great story. And also the thing that really surprised me, so you weren't necessarily predisposed to leaving it better than you found it and all this stuff necessarily. What about improvements? Were you predisposed at all, wired at all towards making improvements?
Yeah, to making improvements, absolutely. But I'd make an improvement and there'd be a tornado of waste left behind.
I see.
So I was just used to throwing stuff on the ground or not picking it up, or maybe cleaning it up later, or cleaning up once or twice like every week or that sort of thing, but not doing it kind of one piece flow, like doing a project, cleaning up as you're going. You're done the project, nothing to clean up.
And definitely not where everyone was making improvements. You were making improvements, you're the leader, you're the owner, but not everybody. And so now it's a complete sea change.
Yeah, so before everyone would come to me with their problems, and then I would make that my problem, and I would just work I worked for about 5 years straight there. Like once I bought the business, so I'd be doing improvements late into the night and making things, making things, but it wasn't the people doing it. So I was all stressed.
I got it. Wow. Well, amazing story. Richard, questions, go ahead.
Well, before we get to the questions, just one comment from me. The one thing about this tour, Nick, is the knowledge of your employees about the lean aspect. Yeah. Very, very strong. You know, you hear so many things. What is lean? It's the art of subtraction. Wherever the question is asked, the answer should be. All of the things that we've learned over the last few years, originally from Paul, you know, when you clean, you're inspecting, you're looking for problems, that they've captured all of those things. So your coaching in your morning meetings is exceptional. I just want to say that.
Richard, thank you for saying that, but I learned everything in Japan. Nothing is from me. Thank you though, but I learned everything in Japan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everything we learned is from you guys and from these tours too. We've played some of these tours in our morning meetings. So it's like, it's literally, here it is. Here's the resource for doing this. It's so cool.
That's the recognition. That really is. It's great. So, okay, first question from Nicole. How do you manage refilling of Kanbans? Is it part of the beginning or end of shift setup clean completed by the operators? How do you do it?
So all the employees know when they get to a Kanban card that they need to trigger it. So they put it into an and-on from FastCap actually. So a light turns on, and then either myself or another manager sees that we have to reorder an item, and then we'll restock it when the item comes in.
Yeah, it's really all of the comments that we've got here is basically complimenting you on the tour. From Adam. So here's from Adam. How much space would you say has been freed up with applying lean, yard and inside?
So as you could see at the start picture there, probably about 1 acre of land that we're now utilizing. Before it was just old piles of wood. So we got rid of all our old excess inventory. We were never going to overprocess. My dad wanted to overprocess it someday, and we never did. So I sold it for cheap, and now we're using a lot more of the yard. So about freed up about 1 acre of land.
Yeah, it's interesting. You've got all the before pictures, and you don't remember it. I mean, it's like when the moms forget the pain of childbirth, right? At the end of it, you become used to the new standard, but you've got to reflect and look back at what it was like and say, look, this is what we used to work with. And the fact that you got your lead time from 7 to 10 days down to 2, that's absolutely incredible. I mean, this is what customers want. They want instant service. And the story that you said about the defect and the actual recognition and the surprise of your customer when you offered them some money for making the problem, it's incredible. Nick, it's fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Incredible tour. We don't have any more questions, but
yeah, and everywhere I go in the world, I deal with companies who are not lean, and the excuses just pile up a mile high, and the emails pile up, and the back and forth. And Nick, oh, we screwed up. Here's $200. Boom. Here's all new panels done. Could you imagine the waste, the resources that are could be freed up in the world if everybody did business like this? I couldn't even fathom what the world would look like.
And if they fix their problems after.
Yeah, exactly.
So they don't have,
and they fix their
problem again.
Forget about the waste. They fix their problems. So they don't even have them anymore. Nick, let me ask you one question as we end this whole thing. What is the number one thing you would tell people they must do if they're going to be successful at this?
Be consistent and be committed to it. That's where it starts.
It. And then you'll figure it all. And you'll figure it all out.
You'll figure it all out. Yeah, just try a little bit every day. That's it.
I couldn't agree more. It's exactly right. That's what I said when I came back from Japan. Come hell or high water, I'm going to figure this out.
Brought to you by AME and paulakers.net, where you can find all my books and resources on my website, paulakers.net, for free. You can even get my new app, 2 Second Lean Play, where I have all my books available in 9 languages in the audio format, designed for you to listen while you work and play at paulakers.net or Lean Play.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Another great tour. And again, Nick and team and Paul, thank you. And from everyone around the world, Phil, thumbs up from New Zealand. It's 10 to 4 a.m. in New Zealand. And we always love his smile. Absolutely. So it's really great. Nick, you and your team have done a great job. And
Thanks
Paul,
so much, and thanks
you
for everyone for coming and watching.
Super job, super effort. Thank you.
Thank you
everyone.
all.
Thanks, Nick.
We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.